House Democrats are slamming the Trump administration and the CBP after touring a detention facility in Homestead, Florida. Earlier this afternoon, a congressional delegation requested access to the nation's largest for-profit child migrant detention center, following reports of mistreatment and deplorable conditions inside the facility. Here's their reaction to what they saw.
All of the children who are here are our children.
Thank you.
And we must understand what is happening. As we've talked to the doctors who said they're seeing rising cases of influenza, strep throat, fevers. The children are arriving here. What is it going to take to comply with the law, have these children reunited with their sponsors, their family members within the 20 days? That is the law.
They're spending weeks and even months in detention conditions that are tantamount to living under house arrest. And we are upset about it. And we came today to say we will shut this down if we have to.
When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to say something.
Yes.
You have to do something.
I want to bring in CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates. He's been following the story very closely and joins us now. So, Graham, you've got these members of Congress. You know, one person there said this is a warehouse of children for profit, that the president has taken this country to its knees at this point. What can those members of Congress really do? What can anybody do to change the plight of these children that are inside these facilities and these families?
Well, the federal government would say they've already done what we asked them to do. Last week, they approved an extra $4 billion worth of funding that's supposed to, most of it's supposed to go to providing better circumstances for the kids here. But on the other hand, this facility that they're protesting, Homestead, is supposed to be a temporary influx shelter, but it's been open since April 2018, and there's really no signs of it getting shut down. It's tripled in size since January. So they're kind of stuck having to both fund the facility that they're fighting and try to figure out what to do about it.
When you say temporary, they're given 72 hours in this type of facility, usually to get people in and out.
That's actually a Border Patrol facility,
okay.
And that from that facility, if a kid is apprehended by Border Patrol, they're then sent to the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which runs Homestead and 169 other facilities like it across the country, though none are nearly as large as Homestead.
And with a facility like Homestead, how long are you supposed to stay in a facility like this?
According to this agreement called the Flores Settlement, which governs how children are housed and taken care of in government custody, they're supposed to be moved to a sponsor that's a relative as quickly as possible. And right now, the government says that's about a 45-day wait on average. That means that some kids, though, are going to wait way longer. We're talking over 100 days, and some are way shorter. In the past year, it's been as long as 90 days, though, for an average.
90 days. That's just incredible. You know, we just a few minutes ago had a report released here. It looks at, it's done by the Inspector General, the Department of Homeland Security, and there are some pretty fascinating findings in this. I want to read for you one of the passages here, and we've got a picture that accompanies it that looks at this facility in particular. It says senior managers at several facilities raised concerns. Can we put that up? I don't actually have this paper in front of me. Can we put the full screen back up? Senior managers at the facilities raised security concerns for their agents and the detainees. For example, one called the situation a ticking time bomb. Moreover, we ended our site visit at one Border Patrol facility early because our president was agitating an already difficult situation, specifically when detainees observed us. They banged on the cell windows, shouted, pressed notes to the window with their time in custody, and gestured to evidence of their time in custody. How concerning is this report?
This is what we've been waiting for the government to acknowledge this. When we talk about Border Patrol facilities, again, we say that people are supposed to be there for 72 hours. It's not supposed to be a detention facility. You're being held there, and then the government decides essentially what to do with you. Do we, if you're an adult, send you to ICE detention or let you go in some other way while awaiting your court date? If you're a child, are we sending you to a place like Homestead, which at the very least is prepared to take care of kids? And instead, what the Inspector General is saying is that it's so overcrowded, so unsanitary, that they're worried that people are going to essentially try to force their way out. just before that in this report, there was an anecdote about people who were being held in these overcrowded cells during one time when the cell was being cleaned, saying, we're not going to go back in. And it says Border Patrol had to bring in a special operations team to show them they're willing to use force on them to get them back into this overcrowded cell. And it says, while that's one anecdote, there are other reports of people trying to escape during these cleaning periods.
You know, you look at some of these, and particularly for the children, I think it's so discerning, saying for children at 3 of the 5 Border Patrol facilities had no access to shower. The TED standards require that reasonable efforts be made to provide showers to children approaching 48 hours in detention. They were wearing the same clothes. And here's another thing. The facilities had not provided children access to hot meals. How do they get away with this?
It's really important you mentioned those TED standards. Those are the standards that govern Border Patrol facilities in particular. So they're saying we were overcrowded, we had more kids than we're accustomed to, and that's what explains this. But those standards are not, they don't allow room for that. They say you have to do this for the kids. And not only do the standards say that, but there's a series of government court settlements and actual legislation that says there's a specific way we treat kids in custody. And so right now they're not exactly getting away with it, right? Mm-hmm. The Inspector General is saying this has to get fixed. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Border Patrol is saying, well, until we're able to ease up the number of people in our facilities, bologna sandwiches is what it's going to be.
But they're saying they're being given these bologna sandwiches led to severe constipation that's led to health issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret you can't eat the same thing every day, but let alone a frozen bologna sandwich day after day after day after day. It's not safe. Mm.
So ultimately, are there any recommendations that the IG puts forward in this report that might lead to any change?
This is just like so many of the other reports we've seen. The recommendation is the people need to be moved out to other places, whether it's ICE detention or the Office of Refugee Resettlement. But then even in the part where it recommends that, it acknowledges that those agencies say they're filled beyond capacity and can't take more people. So while it gives that recommendation, it doesn't really say how to achieve it.
What do you think happens next with this story?
Now that they've gotten the extra funding, the big promise from this last funding battle was once we get the extra funding, people will be treated better and we'll figure out how to make extra beds for people. Mm-hmm. And so now we have to watch and see, are they going to be able to do what they said they'd do with all that extra money?
All right. Graham, thank you very much. Graham Cates for joining us.